we are going to talk about hybridization again. This is the electron configuration for beryllium. So in the electron configuration, all the electrons are paired. So on the simple valence bond theory, beryllium does not form bond because all the electrons are formed. But we know that the beryllium hydride are stable molecule. So to explain this molecule, Pauling come up with hybridization. According to his argument, there's 3 2p orbitals, and this is g-axis. The two s orbitals are combined one of 2p orbitals, which is 2p orbitals. Two s orbitals combined with 2p orbitals to form two new orbitals. The orbitals is called sp1 hybridization orbitals. So the 2p, the sp orbital looks like this. This is 2s orbital, this is 2p orbital. When you add these two orbitals, it looks like this. This side positive, this side positive. So when you add these two positive side, it gets lost. This is positive, this is negative, so it cancels. So it looks like this. This is sp orbitals. When you add these two orbitals, and when you subtract these orbitals, it's positive. This one is negative. So when you add these two orbitals, it looks like this. So anyway, when two s orbitals combined with two p orbitals, we generate these two orbitals. This two orbital is called sp hybrid orbitals. As you can see, these two orbitals have same shape, but direction is different. Direction is 180 degrees away from each other. So with these two hybrid orbitals, we can explain this bond. How explain? For beryllium, for these hybrid orbitals, overlap with 1s orbital. So this bond are constructed from the overlap from beryllium sp orbitals with the hydrogen s orbitals. And this bond are constructed from the overlap of sp hybrid orbitals with the 1s orbitals. In this way, we can explain the two bond. And similarly, for boron, we know that this compound exists, but according to electron configuration, according to simple VB theory, boron can only form one bond because only one electron is unpaired. So to explain this bond, one 2s orbital and two 2p orbitals are combined to generate three hybrid orbitals. Three hybrid orbitals called sp2 orbitals. The sp3 hybrid orbitals look same. One hybrid orbital looks like this one. Second hybrid orbital looks like this. Third hybrid orbital looks like this. The shape is all the same, but the angle is 100 degrees away from each other. So in this way, we can explain the BH3 molecule. So similarly, we can explain methane, electron configuration looks like this. So explain the tetrahedral structure. You are going to combine 2s orbital with 3 2p orbitals. So we are construct sp3 hybrid orbital. So in this way, we can anyway construct the hybrid orbitals to explain the molecular structure. But I want to emphasize one important point. The important point is that we are introduced sp3 hybrid orbitals, sp2 hybrid orbitals, and sp hybrid orbital. But in reality, this hybrid orbital actually is not real orbital. This orbital is not real. What do you mean by real? If this orbital is real, this orbital can be observed by photoelectron spectroscopy. If this orbital is real, we can measure the energy of this orbital using photoelectron spectroscopy. In MO, the molecular orbital energy of MO can be measured by photoelectron spectroscopy, but the orbital energy of this hybrid orbital cannot be measured by photoelectron spectroscopy. If the hybrid orbital has real energy value, how many peaks obtained from the BH3? Only one peak must be observed because all the sp2 orbitals is identical. So one peak must be shown. How about methane? Only one peak must be shown. How about beryllium hydride? Only one peak must be shown. Right? But according to experimental observation, when you measure the photoelectron spectroscopy, there are many peaks appears. So I want to stress that the hybrid orbital is not real. This is just a mathematical convenience. But then why chemists use hybrid orbitals or valence bond theory? This is the question. Because we still use valence bond theory because this valence bond theory has very explanatory power. Explanatory power is excellent. What do you mean by explanatory power? I'll give you an example of Allen molecule. Allen molecule looks like this. My question is that on the left there are 3 atoms, on the right 3 atoms. 3 atoms forms a plane. On the right 3 atoms forms a plane. The question is that is this plane is parallel or perpendicular? This is the question. When you try to answer this question using MO theory, it is very difficult. It's very hard to predict this plane is perpendicular or parallel. But if we try to explain this question using Weber theory, it is relatively very simple. I'm going to use Weber theory to answer the questions. To answer the question using Weber theory, I'm going to use sp hybrid orbital for the carbon atom in the center, and I'm going to use sp2 orbitals, hybrid orbitals for this carbon, and we can explain this sigma bond. How? This sigma bond are constructed from the overlap of hydrogen at s orbital with the carbon sp2 orbital. So using the overlap of hydrogen s orbital with the sp2 orbital, we can explain 4 sigma bond. And how can you explain this sigma bond? This sigma bond constructed from the overlap of sp2 hybrid orbitals with the sp hybrid orbitals of this carbon. Now we have 2 bonds remains. This bond is called pi bond. Now first, this carbon has 2 s orbital, 3 2p orbitals, and we use 1 2s orbitals and 2 2p orbitals to generate sp2 hybrid orbitals, and 1 p orbital remains. Which direction p orbital remains? The p orbitals which are not used in hybrid orbitals are in the perpendicular to the display. The orbital which is not used in hybrid orbital are perpendicular to this plane. Similar logic to apply to this orbital. How about this one? In this case, only one p orbitals are used in hybridization. The p orbital which are used in hybridization are in this direction, g direction. So two p orbitals remains. One is in this direction. The other p orbitals which are not used in hybridization are perpendicular to this direction. So to explain these pi orbitals, the orbitals which are perpendicular to this direction are interact with the p orbitals in this direction. These two parallel p orbitals overlap each other to generate pi orbital. Now, the remaining p orbitals are now in this direction. The p orbitals in this direction are used to construct pi orbitals. So remaining p orbitals are in this direction. But how about in this orbital? Here, the remaining p orbitals are in this direction. So in this state, the p orbitals are in this direction. The remaining p orbitals are in this direction. They are perpendicular to each other. So in this state, they cannot overlap with each other because these two orbitals are perpendicular to each other. So in this way, they cannot overlap. So this plane must be rotated 90 degrees to overlap to each other to form pi orbital. So in conclusion, this plane must be perpendicular to form a pi bond. So in conclusion, this plane must be perpendicular. This is the conclusion according to VB theory. And this fact are confirmed by experimental observation. So it is relatively easy according to VB theory. But to explain this theoretical prediction using MO theory, it is very, very difficult. So we are still use VB theory. It has very excellent explanatory power. Okay, now let's move on to another topic. Now we are going to study molecular orbital of triatomic molecule. But before study triatomic molecule, we are going to begin by molecular orbital of tetraatomic molecule. Our example is linear H4 molecule. For the molecular orbital of tetraatomic H4 molecule, we are going to use HAO. In this way, we are going to construct molecular orbital of H4 molecule. So, 4 1s orbital interact with each other to produce molecular orbital. 4s orbital generate 4 molecular orbital. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have consistently observed that as the orbital energy increase, the number of nodes also increase. So the number of nodes for the ground state may be 0. And the next level, number of nodes 1, 2. For the highest molecular orbital, the number of nodes must be 0. So the ground state, the molecular orbital maybe looks like this. There are no nodes. For the first excited state, there's one node. For the second excited state, and the highest excited state, this is the molecular orbital for H4 molecule. Now let's move on to H3, our main topic. Similarly, the molecular orbital may be expressed using this expression. Three s orbital interact with each other to produce three molecular orbitals. The ground state looks like this. The first excited state have one nodal plane, plus, minus, plus, 0, 1, 2. But this molecule, the orbital, cannot be a molecular orbital of this molecule. This is the important point. This type of molecule cannot be a molecular orbital of this H3 molecule. Why? The reason is very, very important. As you know, this molecule is symmetric molecule. This molecule is symmetric with respect to origin. This molecule has inversion center. As I said repeatedly, when the molecule has an inversion center, the molecular orbital always can be classified as Gerade or ungerade. Now, the symmetry of this molecular orbital is Gerade. This is center. The symmetry of this molecule is Gerade. Now, how about this molecule? This molecule also has inversion center. So, the symmetry of this molecular orbital is Gerade. Symmetry of this molecule is plus goes to minus. Ungerade, Gerade, ungerade. All the molecular orbitals are classified as Gerade or ungerade. But, how about this molecular orbital? This molecular orbital is neither Gerade nor ungerade. So this type of molecule cannot be molecular orbital of this molecule. This molecular orbital does not have symmetry. Actually, the molecular orbital looks like this. No contribution, minus. This is a real molecular orbital of first excited state. The mathematical expression of this molecular orbital looks like this. 1 SA and no contribution minus 1 SC. The mathematical expression for this orbital is 1 SA minus 1 SB plus 1 SC. For this molecular orbital, there are no contribution from 1 SB. So this molecular orbital has one nodal plane. And the symmetry is ungerade orbital. This is the molecular orbital of H3 molecule. Now, there are another way to construct molecular orbital of H3. This is a more systematic way. Now, I consider H3 molecule as being formed as interaction between atom in the center with the two end atoms. These H3 molecules are formed as interaction with central H atom with two end atoms. So I'm going to press the atomic orbital on the central atom on the left. This is one orbital. And I'm going to press the atomic orbital of two end hydrogen atom on the right. So this atomic orbital interacts with this atomic orbital to construct molecular orbital in the center. Now, as I said repeatedly, this molecule has symmetry. This molecule has inversion symmetry. So, molecular orbitals are always classified as Gerarde or ungerade. And I'm going to construct molecular orbital as a linear combination of atomic orbital. So, in this way, I'm going to construct molecular orbital using the linear combination of atomic orbital. And I know the molecular orbital are either Gerarde or ungerade. So, this atomic orbital also Gerarde or ungerade, because molecular orbital is either Gerarde or ungerade. So atomic orbital must be also Gerarde or ungerade. Now I'm gonna check the symmetry of the 1s orbital on the central hydrogen atom. This is the hydrogen atom on the center. So the shape of this orbital is here. So symmetry of this orbital is definitely Gerarde orbital, right? Now move on to this one. This is the center. 1s orbital is here. And 1s orbital is here. Now both 1s orbital and 1s orbital are displaced from the origin. So this orbital and this orbital is neither Gerarde nor ungerade. This orbital is not symmetry. So this orbital cannot be used to construct molecular orbital. So we are going to combine these two atomic orbitals to generate two new orbitals to possess symmetry of Gerarde or ungerade. So I'm going to combine these two new orbitals to generate two new orbitals. But it is simple. In first step, we are going to add two of these orbitals. Two orbital add. So 1sa plus 1sb. And second, I'm going to subtract this orbital. Plus minus. So with 1sa and 1sb, we are going to construct 1sa plus 1sb and 1sa minus 1sb. Now, what is the symmetry of 1sa plus 1sb? This is Gerarde orbital. Right? What is the symmetry of this orbital? This plus transform to minus. So this orbital is ungerade orbital. So now I'm going to change this notation. Now this one change. Okay, this is the very important point. Okay, so I want to stress that the atomic orbital of H and Hb, which interacts with 1s orbital, is not 1sa, 1sb. The orbital that interacts with 1s orbital is 1sa plus 1sb, 1sa minus b, not 1sa, 1sb. Okay? The orbital that interacts with 1s orbital is 1sa plus 1sb and 1sa minus 1sb, not 1SA, 1SB. This is the important point, okay? Now, this is Gerardi orbital. Gerardi orbital only interacts with Gerardi orbital. Gerardi interacts with Gerardi orbital. So, it forms bonding orbital and anti-bonding orbital. The shape of bonding orbital looks like this. Okay, so bonding forms. What's the shape of the anti-bonding orbital? Plus, minus, minus. Node develops between atoms. Now, what happens Ungerade orbital? Ungerade orbital has no counterpart, right? So Ungerade orbital becomes non-bonding orbitals. The energy level does not change. So this is the molecular orbital of H3, which we obtained just a moment ago. Now this is the H3. Now I'm gonna replace hydrogen with beryllium. Okay. I'm going to replace the hydrogen in the center with beryllium. On the right side is same. On the left side, we have now beryllium. Beryllium has 2s orbital and 2p orbital. We have additional atomic orbitals. Now, this orbital is Gerardi orbital. This orbital is Ungerade orbital. And 2s orbital is definitely Gerardi orbital. What is the symmetry of 2p orbital? 2p orbital looks like this. Plus sign and minus sign. So this one is definitely Ungerade orbital, right? Now Gerardi orbital interacts with Gerardi orbital, right? So it looks like this. Anti-bonding looks like this. Now, what happens to this one? In previous example in H3, this Ungerade orbital did not have counterpart. Now, this Ungerade orbital has counterpart. Now, 2p orbital is Ungerade orbital. But there are 3 2p orbitals. The question is, which 2p orbitals interact with this Ungerade orbital? The question is, there are 3 2p orbitals, 2pg, 2px, 2py. So to determine which 2p orbital interacts with this Ungerade orbital, we must check the overlap integral between two orbitals. So I'm going to check the overlap between 2px with this Ungerade orbital. So this is g-axis. 2px orbital looks like this. And Ungerade orbital looks like this. The overlap integral. So when you multiply two functions, this region returns positive sign. And this region plus minus returns negative sign. This region positive sign. This region negative sign. So these two pairs cancel each other. These two pairs cancel each other. So overlap integral between 2px with Ungerade orbital exactly 0. So this orbital cannot interact with 2px orbital. similar logic applies to 2py orbital. So anyway, 2px, even though 2px, 2py orbital has same symmetry with 1sa minus 1sb, they don't interact with each other because overlap integral is 0. So these two orbital becomes non-bonding orbital. Non-bonding orbital. So pi non-bonding, pi non-bonding x, y. So the only 2pg orbital can interact with this 1sa minus 1sb. So it forms bonding orbital, anti-bonding orbital. When you draw the bonding orbital, it looks like this. This is pg orbital. 1sa 빼기 1sb looks like this. Plus, minus. So bond forms. Okay. You may also draw the anti-bonding orbital. So this is the beryllium hydride. Okay. Now let's return to the H3 molecule. Now, in this case, H3 is a linear. Now, I imagine the two H atoms at the end move down, form a triangle. This is a linear. When two hydrogen atoms at the end moves down, form a triangle, the molecular orbital energy change. Okay, the molecular orbital energy change when the internuclear distance change, but when the molecular orbital also change when the molecular shape change. Okay. In conclusion, when the molecular shape transforms from the linear shape to the triangular shape, this molecular orbital energy level decrease, and this molecular orbital energy also decrease, but this molecular orbital energy level increase. So when they form a perfect triangle, these two energy level identical. So this is the molecular orbital energy level of triangular shape. Then what's the reason why these two energy level decrease and the first excited state energy level increase? This is the question. Now this is the molecular shape of molecular orbital in the linear shape. When they form a triangle, the molecular orbital looks like this. In linear shape, the atomic orbital in the linear shape, they two are far away to each other at both ends. The atomic orbital at both ends are far away to each other, so they cannot interact with each other. But they form a triangle, they get closer, so they can interact with each other. They overlap increase, and they have same positive sign. Bonding forms. So energy stabilized, molecular stabilized, so energy decrease. Same logic applies to this orbital. When they form a triangular shape, the molecular orbital looks like this. So in this way, even though the sign of atomic orbital is negative, they have both same sign. So they also bonding forms between two negatively signed atomic orbitals. So the energy is stabilized. So energy decrease. But how about this one? When they form a triangular shape, when they get closer, overlap increase. But in this case, they have opposite sign. So instead of bonding, node develops in this case. In this case, anti-bonding character increase. So energy increase. So this orbital energy level increase. This orbital energy level decrease. So when they form a perfect triangle, the energy identical. So this energy level is degenerate. This is the energy level of triangle. So this is H3. So H3 has 3 electrons. 1, 2, 3. When they form a triangle, 1, 2, 3. What is the magnetic property of H3? Both of them are paramagnetic. But what happens? One more electron are added to the H3. In this case, additional electrons occupy same orbital. So when the H3 minus assumes linear structure, it is diamagnetic. But when H3 minus forms a triangular shape, the electrons occupy another orbital. So in this case, paramagnetic. Okay? Same formula, H3 minus, but when they form a linear shape, the magnetic property is diamagnetic. But when they form a triangular shape, the magnetic property is paramagnetic, is different. Okay, now go back to beryllium hydride. Now I'm going to replace beryllium with oxygen. Then what happens? Beryllium hydride is linear, but water is not linear. As you know, water is bent. Water is bent. So this molecular orbital energy level change. How change? Now, what happened to this molecular orbital energy level? When the hydrogen atom moved on, what happened to this energy level? Definitely decrease, because they have both same sign, right? When they go down, overlap increase, they have same sign, bonding develops. What happens to this orbital energy level? They have opposite sign, so the energy may increase, right? The interesting part is here. They are degenerate. They degenerate when they bend. The pi orbital energy level does not change. Only pi x orbital decrease. This is interesting. Why pi y orbital remains same, does not change, but pi x orbital decrease. Now first, take a look at pi x orbital. Why pi x orbital? This is pi x orbital. Pi x orbital is non-bonding in linear shape. Why? Because s orbital is at the center, right? So this one perfectly cancels the negative sign. But it is bent. Now this one is shifted down, right? So this one does not perfectly cancel this one. So overlap survive. So bonding develops. So energy level decrease. But what about py orbital? Py orbital are perpendicular to this plane. Py orbital. So s orbital moves around the perpendicular to this plane, perpendicular to the py orbital. So even though py orbital moves around this plane, the overlap integral still 0. So it does not change. So in your diagram, pair. As I said before, the ground state energy level decrease. First excited state increase. Pi orbital does not change. Pi orbital decrease. This is the graph showing. Ground state decrease, red colored. First excited state increase, blue colored. Pi orbital does not change, black colored. And the pi orbital decrease, ground color. This type of diagram is called Walsh diagram. As you know, beryllium dimer has 4 valence electrons, right? 4 valence electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4. How about oxygen, water molecule? Right, okay. I'm going to talk about Walsh diagram again. Okay. Now, let's move on to CO2 molecule. Now, in this case, end atom is hydrogen. Very simple. But CO2 molecule, end atom is oxygen. So complicated. So I'm going to press the atomic orbital of carbon on the left. And oxygen has 2 p orbitals as well as 2 s orbitals. Now 2 s orbital is here. A, B. Fortunately, oxygen 2s orbital is much lower than carbon 2s orbital. So oxygen 2s orbital cannot interact with carbon 2s or 2p orbital. So these 2 s orbital forms a non-bonding orbitals. But oxygen has 2p orbitals. How many 2p orbitals? 3 2p orbitals for each oxygen atom. So we have total of 6 2p orbitals exist. Six 2p orbitals are in the proximity of 2s and 2p orbitals. So this 6 2p orbitals interacts with carbon 2s and 2p orbitals. So it is complicated. Now this is x-axis. Treating all the 2p orbitals once is very complicated. So I'm going to break down whole process in 2 steps. In first step, I'm going to focus on the interaction only in g directions. And second step, I'm going to treat x and y directions. So in first step, I'm going to deal with the interaction along the g-axis. So I'm going to deal with only PGA orbital, PGB orbital first. Now, CO2 molecule is also symmetric with respect to the origin. So, this molecular orbital also classified as either Gerade or Ungerade. So, these 2 atomic orbitals combine to generate Gerade orbital or Ungerade orbital. So, in first orbital looks like this. This one is this is Gerade orbital. The other one is Ungerade orbital. So instead of 2pGa, 2pGb, we are going to use 2pGa plus 2pGb and 2pga minus 2pgb. 2pga plus 2pgb is Gerardi orbital. 2pga minus 2pgb is un-Gerardi orbital. This orbital interacts with carbon 2s and 2p orbitals. And definitely 2s orbital is Gerardi orbital, 2p orbital is un-Gerardi orbital. Now, Gerardi orbital, 2s orbital, which is Gerardi, interacts with Gerardi orbital to form bonding orbital, anti-bonding orbital. So, this interaction completed. It looks like this. Bonding develops. Now, there is un-Gerardi orbital. 2p orbital is un-Gerardi orbital. This un-Gerardi orbital can interact with 2p orbital, but there are 3 2p orbitals. But as in the case of beryllium hydride, only this un-Gerardi orbital interacts with 2pg orbital. Why? 2px orbital, 2py orbital. These two overlap integral with this 2px, 2py with this un-Gerardi orbital is 0. So these 2p orbitals cannot interact with this un-Gerardi orbitals. Only 2pg orbitals can interact with this un-Gerardi orbital. It forms bonding orbital, anti-bonding orbital. How can you draw this bonding orbital? It looks like this. This is 2pg orbital. This is un-Gerardi orbital. So same sign miss to form a bond. Now this one completed. Then interaction between G direction is completed. Then how many orbitals remains? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. 6 orbital remains. Px, Py orbital, Px orbital, Py orbital, and 4 orbitals also Px orbital, Py orbital. So total of 6 p orbitals remains. So in first, Px orbital, Px orbital, Px orbital. 3 Px orbitals are parallel. 3 Px orbital interact with each other to form a molecular orbital. 3 Px orbital. 3 Px orbital interact with each other to generate 3 molecular orbitals. Bonding orbital looks like this. Non-bonding orbital looks like this. Anti-bonding orbital looks like this. Okay. Bonding, non-bonding, anti-bonding orbital formed. So, bonding, non-bonding, anti-bonding orbital formed. And similarly, p orbitals perpendicular to this board, py orbital, pi orbital, p orbital are parallel with each other, and they interact with each other to form in the same position pi bonding, pi non-bonding, pi anti-bonding orbital forms. So this is the molecular orbital energy diagram of CO2 molecule. Now, how many valence electrons CO2 molecule have? A total of 6 valence electrons have. Now, 2 sigma bond here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So, type number D. This is highest molecular orbital. This is the molecular orbital energy diagram for CO2 molecule. Now, question is, now compare the CO2 with NO2 plus. First, the CO2, what is the magnetic property of CO2? In CO2 molecule, all the electrons are paired. So it is definitely diamagnetic. And compare the CO2 with the NO2 plus. The number of valence electrons of NO2 plus is also 16. So they are isoelectronic. They are same valence electrons. So when you draw Lewis diagram of CO2 plus, it is same. When you draw Lewis diagram, it is same. They share same Lewis diagram. And they share same molecular orbital energy diagram. Same, because the number of valence electrons is perfectly same. The question is that when you add 2 more electrons, NO2 minus transform to NO2 minus. My question is, NO2 plus is diamagnetic. Then what is the magnetic property of NO2 minus? You might say that 2 additional electrons enter this way. So we observe 2 unpaired electrons. So NO2 minus might be paramagnetic, but it is wrong. It is not. Why? When you draw Lewis diagram, NO2 minus is diamagnetic. Actually, when you perform experimental observation, it is diamagnetic. Then what is wrong? Why this is wrong? Because CO2 and NO2 plus is linear. What's the structure of NO2 minus? When you draw NO2 minus, it is bent. Structure is different. CO2, NO2 plus is a linear structure, but NO2 minus is bent. Structure is different. But as you know, this molecular orbital energy diagram are based on the assumption that the molecule is linear. So you cannot use this MO diagram to predict the magnetic property of NO2 minus because it's not linear. When you talk about the HO2 molecular orbital energy diagram, this is a beryllium hydride. In beryllium hydride, we have degenerate energy level. But when H get down, degeneracy is lifted. 2 energy level does not same anymore, right? Similarly, this is the energy level of CO2. When molecule assumes a linear structure, we have energy level which is degenerate. But when the linear structure transforms to the bent structure, the 2 energy level is not same anymore. It is repeated. So we cannot use this energy level diagram anymore. Then how do you explain NO2 minus? When you go to university, you can construct molecular orbital energy diagram of NO2 minus, but it is a little bit complicated. So in general chemistry course, we are not going to use molecular orbital energy diagram using for explain this NO2 minus. In this course, we are going to use approach commonly used by organic chemists. In organic chemists, use valence bond theory to explain sigma bond and use molecular orbital theory to explain pi bond. This approach is commonly used by organic chemists. It's intuitive approach. It is very easy to explain. So in this class, we are going to use this approach. And NO2 minus is isoelectronic with O3. So in this handout, it is related to O3, but it is actually same as the NO2 minus. So we are going to use VB theory in order to use VB theory, first we are going to draw Lewis diagram of O3 or NO2 minus. And so in first step, I'm going to draw Lewis diagram of O3 or NO2 minus. When you draw Lewis diagram, looks like this. O3 has resonance structure. This is a resonance structure of O3 or NO2 minus. But I want to emphasize one key point. There are two kinds of electron pairs in Lewis diagram. There's two kinds of electron pair, which are marked square and which are marked circle, straight. There are two different kinds of electron pair. The electron pair which are marked square does not change position between two resonance structure. They assume same position. But the electron pair marked with square change position. The electron pair in this one assumes oxygen on the right, but here they assumes oxygen on the left. The electron pair moves between resonance structure. Similarly, this sigma bond does not change positions, but this pi bond moves, okay? This pi bond moves around between two resonance structures. So keep in mind that according to Lewis diagram, there are two kinds of electron pairs which are fixed. But some electron pairs moves. This electron pair is called localized. This electron pair is called delocalized. Okay, anyway. So when you draw Lewis diagram, it looks like this. To explain this molecule, I'm going to use sp2 hybrid orbital. So I'm gonna use two p orbital to construct sp2 orbitals, and one 2p orbitals remain. These 2p orbitals are to the perpendicular to this plane. Okay. Now for oxygen at the end, one electron enters 2s orbital. The electron pair enters 2p orbitals, but there are 3 2p orbitals. Which 2p orbitals are occupied by this lone pair? This is the question. The 2p orbitals which accept this lone pair is in this direction. Orbitals in this direction accept these lone pairs. The 2p orbitals in this direction forms a sigma bond. Then what happens to the two p orbitals in this direction, which is perpendicular to this bond. These two p orbitals overlap with each other to form a pi orbital. Okay. So same as this oxygen, 2s, 2p. So as I said before, sigma orbital are explained by valence bond theory. Pi orbital explained by molecular theory. Then O3, O, NO2 minus has total of 18 electrons. How many electrons are explained by valence bond theory? These electron pairs are allocated to sp2 orbitals. So this electron pairs, this electron pairs, this electron pair, this one, and this one. A total of 5 lone pairs are explained by valence bond theory. So 10. And this sigma bond and this sigma bond, which are explained by valence bond theory. So a total of 14 electrons are explained by valence bond theory. So remaining 4 electrons are going to be explained by MO theory. How do you construct molecular orbital? Now, oxygen has remaining p orbitals. These remaining p orbitals are perpendicular to this plane. Why? These p orbitals accept lone pairs. These p orbitals forms a sigma bond. So remaining p orbitals are perpendicular to this plane. And as I said before, the oxygen forms sp2 hybrid orbitals. Remaining p orbitals are perpendicular to this plane. So 3 remaining p orbitals are perpendicular to each other. 3 remaining p orbitals forms a molecular orbital. 3 remaining p orbitals looks like this. So it forms a bonding, non-bonding, anti-bonding. It looks like this. Bonding, non-bonding, anti-bonding. Now, how many electrons accept in this molecular orbital diagram? 4 electrons are going to enter molecular orbital. 1, 2. This is bonding orbital. This is anti-bonding orbital. Now, important point. As I said before, there are 2 kinds of electron pair exist. Localized electron and delocalized electron. The delocalized electron moves between resonance structure. This delocalized lone pair corresponds to this electron, which are assigned in molecular orbital, non-bonding orbital. The electrons sometimes in the left carbon, left oxygen, sometimes reside in oxygen on the right. They moved around, right? This electron corresponds to delocalized electron pairs. And this bond also moves around between 2 resonance structure. These electron pairs, bonding electron pairs, are delocalized. This one corresponds to these bonding electrons. As you can see, the bond electrons are distributed in the whole molecule. Electrons are not localized between two atoms. It is distributed all whole molecule. So delocalized molecular orbital. Okay. This is the NO2 minus or CO2. So NO2 plus O CO2 and NO2 minus O O3. Number of valence electrons is 16. Number of valence electrons 18. The structure is linear. structure of NO2 minus is bent. So here something happens, right? On the left side, linear structure. On the right side, bent structure. What happens between these two borderlines? This diagram. On the left side, this diagram is called Walsh diagram. As I said before, when I talk about the hydrogen, beryllium hydride, you remember this diagram? This is beryllium hydride. This is water. Orbital energy change when the molecular shape changes. This is called Walsh diagram. This is also Walsh diagram. Okay. In this diagram, on the right side, CO2. The bond angle is 180 degree. So this is 90 degree. So for CO2 molecule, ground state is 3 sigma g orbital. This orbital does not change, even the bond angle decrease. Similarly, 2 sigma e orbital energy does not change. 4 sigma g change a little bit, very small. And 3 sigma g change very little. 1 pi orbital. Pi orbital is degenerate, and this orbital change but very little. And 1 pi orbital. 1 pi orbital change considerably. And 2 pi orbital decrease considerably. This is a Walsh diagram for CO2. Now, CO2 has a total of 16 valence electrons. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. The 16 electron fills up to 1 pi g sigma orbital. 1 pi g orbital. But see the potential curve or 1 pi g orbital. 1 pi g orbital, the energy of 1 pi g orbital increases rapidly when theta decrease, right? So when theta is 180 degree is the most stabilized angle. So with this diagram, we can predict that when the valence electron is 16, the angle is 108 is the most stabilized structure. So CO2 is linear structure because the orbital energy increase rapidly when angle decrease. So 180 degree is the most stabilized angle. So CO2 is linear structure. But what happens? One more electron is added. The one more electron goes to enters the 2 pi orbital. But 2 pi orbital energy rapidly decrease when angle decrease. So in this case, when one more electron enters the 2 pi orbital, angle decrease. So structure transform from linear to bent. So we can explain why this structure is bent. Right? What happens between here? You can explain this experimental observation using this Walsh diagram. Due to this one, this 2 pi orbital rapidly increase when angle decrease. So when one more electron goes to 2 pi orbital, energy rapidly decreases. So the molecule preferred banded structure. And up to now, we studied valence bond theory and molecular orbital theory. Now I'm going to study the mathematical relation between valence bond theory and molecular orbital theory. For H2 molecule, according to molecular orbital theory, two s orbital forms a molecular orbital. The bonding orbital approximately 1sa plus 1sb. So in hydrogen molecule, two electrons occupy both bonding orbital. So molecular orbital may be expressed using this formula. This is bonding orbital. First electron goes to bonding orbital, and second electron also goes to bonding orbital. This is the molecular orbital, according to molecular orbital theory. So when we expand this term, you have distinct four terms. This one, first term, and this term, and cost term. When you expand this term, you have four distinct terms. When you take a close look at this term, first two terms, when you represent this first two terms symbolically, when you represent this first term symbolically, it looks like this, because the first term means that two electrons, 1, 2, belongs to A proton. Two electrons belong to A proton, so proton A, negative charge. B proton does not have electron, so it has positive charge. In second term, both electrons, 1 and 2, solely belongs to B proton. A proton does not have electron, so symbolically it is this state. So these two terms represent this state, which is ionic state. So first two terms is ionic state, and second term as the wave function expressed by valence bond theory or covalent bond, covalent term. So conclusion: molecular orbital can be expressed as a sum of ionic term plus covalent term. This is the summary of the molecular orbital. But this is related to the electronegativity. We already learned in chapter 3, electronegativity is defined by Mulliken. There are two methods to define electronegativity. First one is Mulliken and second one is Pauling. According to Mulliken, electronegativity is average of ionization energy and electron negativity. And according to Pauling, electron negativity are obtained by measuring bond dissociation energy. According to his formula, bond dissociation energy is equal to geometric average of bond dissociation energy of A2 and bond dissociation energy of B2 and square of electronegativity difference. Do you remember this formula? This formula was derived from based on the assumption that according to Pauling, chemical bond are mixture of covalent bond and ionic bond. This is the assumption. According to Pauling, chemical bond has two characteristics: covalent characteristic and ionic characteristic. So, bond dissociation energy are sum of two terms. First one, from the contribution from covalent bond. Second term, due to the contribution from ionic term. According to Pauling, covalent term are geometric average of bond dissociation energy of A2 and B2. And contribution due to ionic term is square of electronegativity difference. But this is the basic assumption. Chemical bond is a mixture of covalent characteristic and ionic characteristic. This one come from this one. When you expand the molecular orbital wave function, this wave function is a sum of ionic term and covalent term. Chemical bond is a sum of ionic term and covalent term. This is a theoretical background of Pauling's electronegativity scale. But this expression has drawback or weak point. What's the drawback? According to this formula, coefficient of this term and this term is equal. Same probability, same weight. It means that according to molecular orbital theory, ionic contribution is exactly same as covalent contribution. But as we know, some molecule has ionic character is larger than covalent character. For example, HL. But some molecule, for example HI, covalent character is dominant. It depends on molecule. For some molecule, ionic character is stronger. Some molecule, covalent character is stronger. But in molecular orbital theory, they uniformly the 50-50 mixture. So this expression does not reflect the reality of the molecule. So to address this problem, they introduce parameter lambda. So they adjust lambda to represent the real situation. So if you are dealing with HF, you think that HF is more ionic, then you set lambda larger than 1. Then when lambda is larger than 1, it means that this molecule is more ionic. When you deal with HI, which is covalent character is stronger, then you set smaller lambda. So in this way, when you adjust lambda, you can control the characteristic of the molecular orbital. Okay, this is the chapter 6. Okay. So the midterm exam is chapter 6. Chapter 7 is final term. chapter 7. Okay. Do you have any question?